The pioneer in computing is the supercomputer inventor that made the news headlines and became famous for showing other supercomputer scientists that the impossible is, in fact, possible. The pioneer in computing used a never-before-seen supercomputer and used that new technology to make the impossible to solve possible to solve. Back in 1989 and earlier, the leaders in the field of computing believed that it will forever remain impossible to use 8 processors, each akin to a tiny computer, and use them to cooperatively solve the toughest problems arising in science and mathematics. I am a pioneer in computing because in 1989, it made the news headlines that an African supercomputer wizard in the United States had used 65,536 tiny computers to solve the toughest problems arising in science and mathematics. Those problems were called the grand challenges of computing. I am that African supercomputer scientist that solved the grand challenge problem of computing. I am a pioneer in computing because I was the first supercomputer scientist to explore or settle in the new land of the new supercomputers that computed 65,536 things at once. I am a pioneer in computing because back in the 1980s, there was only one supercomputer in the world that was computing with 65,536 processors, or 65,536 tiny computers. That never-before-seen supercomputer only allowed one full-time programmer to program it at a time. I was the only full-time programmer that used that supercomputer at all times. I am considered a pioneer in computing because I was the only full-time programmer of that first modern supercomputer. But more importantly, I am a pioneer in computing because I contributed new knowledge to computer science. That new knowledge was my invention that was completed on the 4th of July 1989. That pioneering invention won me the top prize in supercomputing and made the news headlines. That pioneering invention was how to use a new global network of 65,536 processors or computers, or a new internet, and how to use that new technology to solve the toughest problems arising in science and mathematics. That is the reason I am the subject of school reports as a pioneer in computing.